who knows, with XAI 10 minutes away, perhaps you could see Sam and Elon just sitting right there.
They're going to be in the game room, all playing poker.
There you go.
They are really playing poker in many ways.
They
right?
are.
They're playing a high-stakes game of poker in business.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to GeekWire. I'm GeekWire co-founder Todd Bishop.
And I'm GeekWire co-founder John Cook.
We are coming to you from downtown Bellevue. We like to say what happens here matters everywhere when we talk about the Seattle region. And John, based on where we are, I feel like we are closer to that reality than we've perhaps ever been. We are in the new offices of OpenAI here in downtown Bellevue. We've just taken a big tour of the space. John, it was fun to have you along for the tour, and I'm really interested in your impressions. But first, a teaser of what's ahead. Later on, we're going to be talking with Vijaye Raji, who is the CTO of applications at OpenAI. He is really kind of leading the office here, and he is a startup veteran from the Seattle region, a Facebook veteran, and he is one of our speakers at the upcoming Agents of Transformation AI Summit, March 24th. John, what can people expect at that event?
Half-day summit, packed with content. Really excited about Vijaye's talk, but we also have Charles Lamanna from Microsoft, Deepak Singh from Amazon, so great lineup. If you want to come out and get the nitty-gritty on how AI agents can transform your business, this is the event for you. So just go to geekwire.com/events to learn more.
Great. We've also got our GeekWire Awards coming up, and you can learn about those at the same URL. We'll save that for another show, though. So, John, this is an amazing space.
And you have some history here, right?
A little bit. This used to be a Microsoft space. I'm not sure if I've been on this exact floor, but let's just paint a picture for people, and we'll be able to post some photos, I hope, along with this episode, or at least link to them. This is 2 floors in City Center, Bellevue, and it's been completely redone for OpenAI. It used to be occupied by Microsoft before they kind of fled Bellevue, as it were.
Just a couple miles down the road to Redmond.
Yes.
It's not like they really departed the region, but...
So OpenAI so far has 250 employees here on 2 floors. They have the ability to get up to 1,400 employees. It is a native Pacific Northwest motif.
You think so? That's not how I would describe it. Actually, Monica Nicholsberg from KUOW, former GeekWire reporter, was on the tour with us, and she made the comment, which I think was right on. She said, you know, it's got kind of a Mad Men feel.
Oh,
doesn't
that's
it?
what it is.
It's kind of like a 1960s style motel or hotel.
Yes, hotel, not a motel.
Not a motel, not a motel. Yes, 1960. And we're sitting in what's called the game room, which is, I walked in and I said, oh, this seems like a place you could play poker.
It feels like it,
and it's got kind of a bar set up, but it definitely has that feel of kind of 1960s. It's very polished. It's very kind of chic. You know,
yes, it is. However,
I don't see much Northwest stuff here, frankly.
I guess maybe to me it's the colors and the wood, and I was thinking of that more in the grand staircase that connects the 2 floors.
Yes, I would agree with that. And all the rooms are kind of named after mountains of the Northwest.
But you're right; it has a little bit of a 1950s meets 2020s vibe to it. You know, it's interesting. So this is kind of the opposite from what I understand Anthropic has. I guess you would go into Anthropic and it's so bare bones, the maker of Claude, that you...
It's more like industrial.
And just kind of
there's
plain.
Not like a lot of exposed ductwork. There's some, but not like a lot, as you see kind of that industrial feel at a lot of tech offices. But, I mean, at the end of the day, you know you're in a tech office, right?
Yes,
I mean, it's got a lot of the attributes of a Google or a Microsoft or an Amazon. It's very polished. It's very secure.
Yes. This, though, represents a larger trend, or you might even say a counter trend. We've seen Bellevue in particular, which is the city, don't call it a suburb, east of Seattle, with kind of its own downtown, really its own downtown. And we've seen this influx of AI companies. OpenAI is the biggest example, but XAI, the Elon Musk company, is just down the road. about a 10-minute walk away.
Concur, you can see their building from here. Amazon obviously has a large presence and growing presence in Bellevue. Some would say perhaps at the expense of Seattle, right across the lake.
Yes, oh, definitely. They're seeing more growth here in Bellevue than they are in Seattle. So you've got the general tech influx, but then you've also got this boost, this kind of power boost that we've seen even in just the past 6 months of AI companies in particular coming here to Bellevue. And it's an interesting regional subplot in that way, but it's also an interesting counter trend to this notion that some of these companies and some of these founders are fleeing Seattle for San Francisco or the Bay Area, or the risk of entrepreneurs leaving Seattle. I think this is an interesting moment in time here in Bellevue, and particularly in this office.
Yes, and I mean, there are a lot of trends we can build on here in terms of the fact that it's OpenAI. I mean, it's big tech at this point. It's a very large company. Seattle, I think, historically has a number of those anchor tenants here. So it's another one of those planting its roots, saying they're going to grow here, grow aggressively. But yeah, I think to your point, that narrative of, the last one working in AI to leave Seattle, please turn off the lights. I just don't think that's true. I mean, and this is a counterexample to that. Absolutely. I mean, it was said in the stats today during the presentation, the Seattle area is the number 2 city in the country for AI talent. And that doesn't seem to be changing. I think there is a concern and a worry, certainly amongst the entrepreneurial and startup and venture capital crowd, that some of the tax policies and the reaction to the business community is perhaps driving companies away and founders away. But we do see, and at GeekWire, we have a list of the engineering centers that have set up operations here in the last 20 years, and it continues to grow. And tens of thousands of employees now between Google and Meta and Salesforce and now OpenAI. So I still think this region is extremely strong when it comes to tech talent and AI talent. And I think there's a worry that that might go away, but this office signals that there's at least being a bet. And based on the room we're sitting in, I mean, this is, they put a little bit of coin into this place, right? I mean,
I wonder how much of Microsoft's money is actually still in this space.
This is a expense. These are nice digs, and so they wouldn't be doing that if they thought the region was deteriorating or there wasn't the talent wasn't going to be here.
I spoke with Matt McElwain right before the ribbon cutting, and Matt McElwain is one of the principals at Madrona, the prominent venture capital firm in Seattle, which was also a major investor in StatSig, which was the company that was acquired for $1.1 billion by OpenAI last year, forming the nucleus for this new OpenAI office in many ways. And Vijaye Raji, who we're going to be talking with later, was the CEO of StatSig. And I asked Matt McElwain what people in Olympia, in the state capital, should be taking away from this moment. And his point was that very thread. Vijay and his colleagues, formerly at Facebook, left, decided to start their own thing. They decided to start it here because they saw the talent and the entrepreneurial climate and presumably the economic climate that would support a new venture, and they did it here. And as a result, you have this snowball effect that this office is here now, effectively. And that is the risk about the next StatSig or the next startup that might someday grow into a giant of its own or be acquired and absorbed into a company like OpenAI or others that could then establish a major presence here. And so that's the virtuous cycle he's worried is going to go away.
It is a worry. It's a point well taken. We're still in such an advantageous position related to most cities across the country. And I frame everything from my roots, and going back to many of the columns we've had on GeekWire here recently about Cleveland, Ohio. You'd much rather, and even in fact, the mayor of Cleveland.
Don't get us in trouble with Cleveland again.
Okay, the mayor of Cleveland was on our podcast saying, "I wish I had the problems that Seattle has." And so let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater here. Let's think about all the promise that is here and all the talent that's here. And I think that's a great point. This lineage of Vijaye Raji getting recruited to Microsoft, working at Microsoft, going to Facebook/Meta, being there for a number of years, and then starting a company. I mean, that is the path that a lot of founders take. And as a result, now you have a large engineering center here. And so it's a cool journey and part of the story of Seattle to see the big tech go to a startup gets acquired, and now it's yet another big tech company that's establishing a big presence here.
One of the rooms that really caught my attention on this tour was the library. I was kind of stunned that there was a library, and I have to say, there
weren't many books.
There were many books. I went over and checked it out. It was kind of like the canonical, I have a library and therefore I'm going to put these books in there. It was like Walt Whitman, Leaves of Grass, Chaucer.
They had the great works of the 20th, whatever that series is. My dad has it actually in our basement. Great works of the last 1,000 years or something.
Yes, it was Encyclopedia Britannica. I couldn't help but think, is this like representative of the original training data for ChatGPT?
Yeah, well, that's how you thought about it. And I guess it was, and I had the same thought, because there are books that are throughout as decorative items.
Yes.
And I was like, that is a really interesting choice to have books. Like, I was in the library and I was like, no one is ever going to crack a physical book in this library. And it's just more as a throwback to an era when people did read books. And but it was interesting that they've chosen books as part of their design motif throughout the space.
Yes, and local artists, Bellevue artists, the mayor pointed out every time we went into the rooms. But yeah, I think this says something about OpenAI's culture. All of these things. We're in this kind of room that looks a little like a poker room. As you said, it has a little bit of a Mad Men feel to it. I'm just having a hard time putting a finger on what exactly it says. I'm still kind of figuring out OpenAI personally. I don't have a
they're a pretty young
beat
company still, and so they're probably still coming into their shoes a little bit in terms of what their culture is and how they're going to define themselves as it relates to an Amazon or a Microsoft, which have really defined cultures. Now, what's going to be interesting, StatSig, which got acquired by OpenAI, had an extremely strong culture.
Yes.
And so what will be interesting, and I think one of the challenges for Vijaye in his role is going to be how he preserves that really strong culture and morphs that with an OpenAI culture. But that's the challenge that any entrepreneur faces once they sell their company to a big tech company. But I would say, and I know you've had a lot of interaction with Vijaye and spent a lot of time at the office, wouldn't you say they're probably well served at OpenAI to maybe take a couple puzzle pieces out of his playbook here at OpenAI?
Yes, and for people who didn't follow this, one of the notable, unusual things about StatSig was they were entirely in office.
5 days a week.
Yes, and that was their culture. That's the way it operated.
Daily stand-ups.
Yes.
That's a great question to ask Vijaye.
All of these things actually are going to be really interesting. How the cultures mesh, what happens when you're in part virtual because you are interacting with OpenAI down in San Francisco. I think this will be a good question for him. Thank you for helping me prep.
The other thing that kind of strikes me here, Todd, is that this OpenAI roots in San Francisco and now roots in Bellevue/Seattle region. To me, it really strengthens this concept. And I've talked to other people about this. The Bay Area Seattle connection points are so vast and strong. And I know there are movements to try to create a Cascadia, where there's Portland and Vancouver and Seattle that are connected. But really, when you break things down, wow, the connection points between greater Bay Area and the greater Seattle area are huge, in part because you have now these major tech companies that just kind of cross-pollinate, and they pull talent from both markets in really creative ways. And so I know there's a lot of discussion and debate about, San Francisco's got all the AI buzz right now. But at the end of the day, there are two great tech centers with massive pools of talent. And I think what we've learned over the last 20 years is that they want to be in both markets. And there's advantages for some people to be in one market, and there's advantages for some people to be in the other. And I just don't see that changing anytime soon.
I got to say, there's all sorts of discussion about high-speed rail from
don't get me going on this.
Seattle
I've given some
Portland
pointed feedback on this. Yeah.
To Vancouver, that whole Cascadia connection. And I want to echo what you just said, and I have kind of a personal stake in this. Not that this would ever happen in my lifetime.
You want high-speed rail to Orland.
Or Orland, California.
Yeah.
Straight through the Cascades,
Yes.
down the Siskiyous,
Yeah,
down
big
I-5.
tunnels. Yeah, it's going to be a $40 trillion project.
And then to San Francisco and LA, sure. But in the meantime, just stop right about 100 miles north of Sacramento and I'll be set. Yeah, it's really true. And I got to point out, actually, we haven't even talked about the biggest news of the past week. I mean, there is another reason that OpenAI is here, apart from the talent, and that is its two biggest investors slash partners, or two of the biggest, are right here on either side. Microsoft in Redmond, Amazon here in Bellevue, and in Seattle. Amazon just last week announced a $50 billion investment in OpenAI, with another $100 billion commitment coming back to AWS from OpenAI in terms of its cloud spending, AI training and inference. And you really see the benefit of that center of gravity of tech just continuing to ripple out way back from the decision by Bill Gates and Paul Allen to move here from Albuquerque in 1979.
Yeah, you can imagine there will be meetings in this office at times between Sam Altman and Satya Nadella, or Sam Altman and Andy Jassy.
And who knows, with XAI 10 minutes away, perhaps you could see Sam and Elon just sitting right there.
They're going to be in the game room, all playing poker.
There you go.
They are really playing poker in many ways.
They
right?
are.
They're playing a high-stakes game of poker in business.
Yes,
and,
or 4D chess, as some people say.
This would be a great place for it to take place. We'd love to be a fly on the wall.
All right, so coming up next, Vijaye Raji, the CTO of applications for OpenAI. And later, I'm going to bring you back, John, and we are going to do GeekWire trivia, a specific question chosen just for this occasion. So stick around. We'll be right back. All right, before we sit down with Vijaye Raji, the CTO of applications for OpenAI, here are a few highlights from his public remarks at the opening of the new Bellevue office.
Today is an exciting day for OpenAI. It's also an exciting day for me. A little bit of a personal backstory. This region is home for me, and it's been home for 23 years. Before, you kind of like imagine Microsoft brought me to this area. I was there for 10 years. And then after that, I spent another 10 years at Facebook, where I joined the office here in Seattle when it was half a dozen people, and then grew that to about 5,000 people across Seattle and Bellevue. As you can imagine, my conviction in the talent pool in this area is just like so high, and it's only grown over time. So much so that when I left Facebook to go start my own company here again in the region, I decided to only hire locally, and we had an office here in Bellevue. 3 months ago, I joined OpenAI as part of the acquisition, and as you can imagine, we're investing in Bellevue again. So this is a big step. Seattle is the largest office outside of San Francisco for OpenAI, and the goals are very simple for OpenAI, which is one, we want to help people do more. We want to help businesses grow. And then we also want to have product builders build software faster. So those are the three big goals for the area. And we know we can't do all of this alone, which is why we're partnering with the governments, startups, local agencies, and communities in the Pacific Northwest. So thank you for all that support. This region is unique, and people come here to build big things, and we're no different.
Later in the day, speaking with Vijaye Raji in a conference room at the new OpenAI offices, I started with my own memories of being at the opening of Google's office in nearby Kirkland in 2004, which to me feels in hindsight almost like a prelude to the cloud era in much the same way that OpenAI's new office marks a new era of the Silicon Valley AI giants coming to the region. Let's pick it up there with his comments.
Yeah, Google was the cloud era. And then if you remember in 2010 or 11, we had Facebook also coming into this area. Yeah. So you can kind of see the sequence, this is a pretty amazing region with amazing talent. And it has only continued to grow. So it's only natural that now with all the AI investments, this area is again back in center.
So how would you compare what you're building with the team here at OpenAI to what you were doing back with Facebook, for example, 10 years ago or so? Like, can you compare and contrast?
So in some ways, yes, some ways very hard. So if you think about what we're doing to expand and build products that people will find valuable and useful, you need really, really smart, talented people. And in a way, that is very close to what we used to do coming into the area, hiring here and growing and setting up. In some cases, products become the Seattle area becomes the center for those products and turn into the center of gravity, attracting even more people. The ways in which it's different is like the AI wave feels very different from the things that I've seen in the past. It impacts a lot of different verticals, areas, and we're investing in so many areas to like help people do more faster, make the businesses grow. And in some cases like this with Codex, we're really changing how people build software. And so in a lot of ways, things that the scope of impact is much larger, and also the speed of how things move is also much quicker.
It strikes me from visiting StatSig in particular that you had a very strong culture. I would say of all the companies, the startups
Thanks.
that I visited over the years, like in office 5 days a week, I remember I was there for one of your stand-ups and somebody walked around and sort of banged on a drum and, you still, like it was very strong. Can you talk to me about what that's been like now? And is this a melding of the cultures that you had there? And I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, so yes, we had very strong cultures, and some of the things that you see people do, you kind of like you do this as part of the tradition, and people vibe with it. And there's a vibe and culture here at OpenAI, and so part of it is like bringing people from StatSig along to the OpenAI's culture, which is very AI centric. Everything that we do here, we feel the AI in it, and including like when I talk about Codex, the adoption of Codex internally has just been massive, and it's fundamentally changed how we operate, not just for software engineering, but also for how we do marketing, how we do sales, how we do internal operations. And so the culture is very much in terms of like how we apply AI to every day, and that's what our the StatSig folks are learning. And one of the things that I've been very happy to see is with the opening of the new office, people want to be here. People are coming in every day and they just want to be here because it's like such a nice office and space that it's creating the in-person culture here.
At the same time, one of the neat things that you had there was everybody was in the same office. And here, by definition, you're San Francisco and Bellevue. And of course, Bellevue is the biggest office outside of San Francisco. How's that working out so far?
It's a function of size. There's only so many people you can have in one floor. And even like when in my previous company, when we went from like one floor to another 2 floors, it felt like it was a difference. And here at scale, you have to like go where people are and be able to like set up offices with critical masses. To me, that's important, where you don't want to be like spread out too far. It's kind of like be intentional about when you set up an office, what does it mean to have a Seattle office? What does the critical mass look like? What kinds of people are we hiring? Is that in tune with the kind of talent profile that you can get from the region? And can we staff up different projects that attract the similar people? And so, yeah, you just have to be thoughtful and mindful about it. And at scale, yes, we want to like, expand our offices. Seattle is like, if we can make Seattle very, very successful, we could take that formula and apply it to more offices.
So in that way, this could be a template for other cities around the country or the world.
It's a great template to have.
Yeah.
And Seattle works really well because it's really close to the headquarters. We can have people moving back and forth in order to like not have cultural divergence. And also it's in the same time zone. So a lot of ways Seattle helps be the template. Yeah.
So how does it work in terms of teams and hiring? Do you have concentrations of specific teams here, or are you just hiring for the talent you can get to locate here? Talk me through that.
Yeah, so there's a point in time thing, which is like right now what it is, and then where we wanted to go. So where I wanted to go is to like have people come in and join OpenAI and find many number of opportunities that they can apply themselves to. So in order for that to happen, you need to like have breadth of opportunities. But at the same time, you also want to like prevent,
non-critical mass teams being here. Like, if it's like one team, one person team, two-person team, it's just not very healthy for when you think about the holistic site strategy. And so it's a balance of like how you go from where we are right now to where we want to be. And over time, the goal for me is to like, have anyone that is joining OpenAI, really good people that are joining OpenAI, be able to find an opportunity that they associate themselves to, that they want to actually work on.
And so that could be somebody who's working here with a team in San Francisco, or
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so it could be split. It could be like over time, organically, teams will form here where you'll start to see like Seattle is the headquarters for that team. And then everywhere else is the satellite office for that team. And then there will be fully contained teams. All of those will happen.
So I've been following some of your LinkedIn posts. I've been following the news about Codex, including the Windows app this week, which kind of felt like a real throwback. Tell me, can you give me a sense for like what's on your agenda and what are you thinking about day to day as it relates to the tech?
So one thing that that I appreciate is like being inside OpenAI and seeing how much innovation comes out of the teams that we have internally. So Codex, the new app was launched earlier this year and has already like grown 4x, and the usage has been climbing really, really fast. And part of that is not just the adoption or the growth of the application, but what it does to the teams. So teams have become many more times productive internally. So we have all these like metrics that we are tracking. And so when people adopt Codex in the way it can operate, you become 2 times or 3 times more productive in terms of like the code you write. And Codex has found its way everywhere within the company as well. And so it's very real how it's very hard for me to imagine going back to the way we used to write code anymore. It's fundamentally changed. And so that is like super interesting and very exciting. So our ChatGPT main application has 900 million weekly actives, and that's growing really well. And it's by the way, that's covering a breadth of people. It covers businesses. Businesses use ChatGPT. Educators use ChatGPT. People use ChatGPT to create documents and PowerPoints and presentations. So it's found its way in like very many different verticals and use cases. So that's really exciting. So we're leaning into that as well. So you might have seen we've announced a health project that earlier this year. So those are all like verticals. ChatGPT is going to become very, very useful and helpful. I'm also investing in ads, and that's another product that we're building out between San Francisco and Seattle. And so that would be, so we had a public announcement of ads. We're working on, both the ads platform as well as the formats. And so we have a set of principles that we're holding on to very closely, and I'm excited about that as well. Another thing that most people don't talk about is the infrastructure that supports the scale. And we have a pretty strong infra team. We're hiring again for the infra team in Seattle as well. Again, very, very good talent on the infra side here. Just looking at like the scale, how fast we've grown and how the infra has scaled. And we want to continue growing that way and providing the scale necessary for all of the products that I said to grow.
So you mentioned infrastructure, and that is, traditionally just a real fundamental part of the Seattle region. And I can imagine that would be something where you would really want to recruit here. How do you see that going? Could that become a pretty substantial part of the OpenAI office here?
Yeah, I think it could. I do think that there is a very strong infra talent base here in the area. And so that could like cloud infra, dev infra, prod infra, a lot of different types of investments that we're making internally, this core to everything that we do, even the platforms that we build on top of the infra that needs to scale. And yeah, I do think that there is a pretty large presence for the infra team here in Seattle, and we want to grow that too. A lot of opportunities.
What else is happening out here? As we walked around the tour earlier today, it was hard to tell exactly, obviously, what folks were doing without looking over their shoulders. What kinds of work is happening here in Bellevue now?
So on the engineering side, there's infra, there's ChatGPT, there's some research as well, and then there's the ads team that are all working in this area. We also have some partnership folks that are here in the Seattle area, and we want to it's not just an engineering team that we want to hire. We actually want to round out every different function in the area as well. So those are the primary ones that come to mind.
So obviously you've got 2 big partners now, one on the other side of the lake and in Bellevue in Amazon, and then the other just up 520 in Redmond in Microsoft. Is this office going to end up being kind of a nexus for those partnerships as well?
Well, we've had good relationship with Microsoft all along, and
Sure.
they're great partners. And then we recently announced we're partnering with Amazon as well, which is also great. So yeah, I do think that this office would provide some, people that are traveling to like come work with those teams. This is a good base to be. And over time, I can imagine like building out partnerships orgs here as well.
How has AI changed things for you as a leader? Your day to day, I'm curious, even over the last 6 months or so with the rise of Codex in particular.
Yeah, I mean, Codex has made coding a lot more delightful. So I mean, I'm back coding.
Oh, you are?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's so cool because Codex, before you hop into a meeting, you kind of like ask it to go do a set of tasks, and then you jump into a meeting, and then when you come back, it's like it's done, and then you review it. It's so cool, and so it's very delightful, and so that definitely is a huge change. The other thing I use ChatGPT and Codex across the board. Like, if I'm writing documents, if I'm actually like sending messages out, I don't know if I can do it without relying on Codex or ChatGPT nowadays. I have like written my own little Slack summarizers and tools like that is so much easier to build now than it was before. And so one of the things, if I go around OpenAI, is like everyone has built like little tools that using Codex that serves and saves them time, which is very, very neat to see.
Do you have code running right now as we're talking?
So right now, if my laptop is down, then it's not. This is good when you have a meeting, you have a laptop open. But now we're also like internally working on a few tools where we can actually fire off things where you don't have to have your laptop open.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's happening virtually in the background,
Yes,
even
exactly.
if your CPU isn't running. But I understand. I've heard you talk about that before.
Yeah.
Where it's like if your laptop is cracked,
Yeah.
it's sort of the new cultural thing that
Yeah,
says
exactly.
computer at work.
Exactly. Yeah. So you'll see that in like airplanes. When the flight attendant comes over, like, oh, it's time to shut down your laptop. Like, well, I just want to leave it open. So yeah.
But if the CTO of applications is doing coding, what does that mean for the future of teams?
Codex has brought coding accessible to everyone. Like, I would definitely encourage you to give it a shot. Just open up Codex. It's very friendly, and it's got a chat interface. If you can dream of something, you can ask it to go code it, and you'll be surprised like how good it is. And so it's kind of like the people that have tried it and they've like fallen in love with it, and I would encourage you to go try it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
and
great.
it's free. You can download it and you can try it out.
Thanks for sitting down. Really
course.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming over.
Vijaye Raji is the CTO of applications for OpenAI, and he'll be one of the speakers at the upcoming GeekWire AI Summit, Agents of Transformation, March 24th in Seattle. Up next, our weekly GeekWire Trivia Challenge.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
This is GeekWire's Trivia Challenge.
Wouldn't you prefer a good game of chess?
John, do you recognize
I
that?
do. You found that in the archive, huh?
I did. I think I'm going to use that.
Let's do it. I mean, it's a throwback to when we were on the radio with our show.
Doesn't
which
it sound like-
predates GeekWire. I mean, as many people know, we were doing much of this before GeekWire ever existed.
Exactly. So,
And Todd, we should say, it's our 15th
hey,
anniversary
that's a
this
great
weekend.
point. It's a great point. March 7th,
Yes.
2011, the 15 years from the day this podcast is coming out.
Yeah, the actual day.
The actual day
Yeah.
was the day that GeekWire started. Happy anniversary,
Happy
GeekWire.
anniversary. I'm glad to share a spindrift and a
Cheers.
kombucha
Cheers. Here
with
we
you.
go.
Yeah. I already opened my kombucha.
There you go.
Yes.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to
Well done.
15 years. Who would have thought?
Yeah. Okay, let's get back to it.
All right. So, yes, I went back into the archives, found that, which was created at the time. We should give him a shout out. Aaron Rose, our former
Great
producer at Cairo Radio. Speaking of the Sacramento area, I think that's where Aaron is now. Anyway, I'm just going to start using that. All right. So it is GeekWire's Trivia Challenge. As many listeners will know, we've been returning to this segment, and it's been very popular. I've been posting the trivia question on Saturday evenings on LinkedIn, by the way. It's a hit. It's a hit. People love it. People love the multiple choice, John.
People love trivia. People love trivia.
So we are here at OpenAI in Bellevue. It feels kind of like the beginning of a moment to me. And I was thinking about it on the drive over the bridge. Soon, by the way, we'll be able to be taking the light rail over the other bridge, over the I-90 bridge. But this morning I was driving over the 520 bridge thinking about it. I was there in 2004 when Google opened its office in Kirkland, which many people attribute and associate with the wave of Silicon Valley engineering
Really
centers.
was. Yeah.
That
they were
followed.
really at the forefront of this trend.
I don't know if you know this, John, but Google was actually not the first major Silicon Valley company to establish a significant engineering presence in Seattle.
Oh, well, of course there have been others.
No, but there was
of the
one
new,
other
of the new era.
crop. But there was one other that was especially prominent. And whenever we would talk about Google establishing its office and starting this wave, I would get emails from employees of this company and veterans of this company pointing out that this company actually was the one that kicked it off decades before. So the question for you is this week, and for the listeners out there on the GeekWire Trivia Challenge,
That's a stumper.
which Silicon Valley company opened an engineering office in Bellevue, making it one of the earliest, if not the earliest, out-of-town tech companies from Silicon Valley to establish a presence in the Seattle area?
Yahoo.
No, it was not Yahoo. It was not Yahoo. That was that was the Ballmer era later.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay. A, Oracle.
And they do have a large presence here.
B, Cisco.
Cisco's had a long time presence here.
C, Sun Microsystems. Or D, Netscape.
Well, Oracle has a big presence here. Cisco's been here forever. I'm going to go with Cisco.
You're
because
right. You're right.
I don't think it's Netscape. Yeah. I mean, Cisco has been here for a long time. I actually know where their offices are down there, kind of on the edge of Belltown in downtown Seattle.
North Belltown, I would
They've been
call
there
it.
forever. Yeah,
Yes,
by the
exactly.
Seattle Center. Yeah.
Those are the folks I would get the emails whenever I talked about Google kicking off,
Yes.
sparking the wave of Silicon Valley companies. Well, actually emails would come from all the Cisco veterans.
Yes. Okay.
So,
Well, that's a good one.
yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for playing the GeekWire Trivia Challenge. John, this was very special to have you on location with me.
Fun day.
At OpenAI.
We didn't get to test the lunch.
Well, that's next.
Okay. That'll be
Next week.
Next week's show. How is the food at OpenAI compared to Google or Microsoft?
Curt Milton edited this episode. I'm Todd Bishop.
And I'm John Cook.
We'll talk to you next time on the GeekWire podcast.